Chef Whitney here. Today we are making beef, bean, and cheese empanadas.
For the empanada dough, you'll need 3 cups all-purpose flour, 6 ounces butter, 1 egg, half a teaspoon kosher salt, 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water. For the empanadas, you'll need 1 pound ground beef, half a teaspoon ground cumin, half a teaspoon chili powder, half a teaspoon red pepper flakes, 1 teaspoon dried oregano, half a teaspoon granulated garlic, half a teaspoon black pepper, kosher salt to taste, 1 cup of cooked black beans, 9 ounces of pepper jack cheese, 1 cup of salsa or taco sauce, 1/4 cup diced green chilies, 3 eggs, 3/4 a teaspoon of water, and pan spray. For the tools, you'll need a food processor, a rolling pin, a Dutch oven, a skillet, a rubber spatula, a big bowl, a small bowl, a fork or whisk, a pastry brush, a baking pan, a can opener, and a cookie cutter, or a cup and a knife if you don't have a cookie cutter.
The first step you'll want to do is take your dried black beans and soak them in water overnight. I have already done that. Before we start making our empanada dough, let's go ahead and get our black beans cooking. So turn on your stove. I have already rinsed and drained my black beans, and now I've poured fresh water on top. We're gonna put this in our pot. We're gonna bring this to a boil, and once it starts boiling, we're gonna reduce the heat to a medium heat, cover it, and we're gonna let it simmer until the beans are soft. Now that our beans are boiling, we're gonna turn our heat to medium. We're gonna put our lid on our pot, and we're gonna let this simmer for about 30 minutes to an hour until your beans have become soft. Now we're gonna start making our empanada dough in our food processor. First, we're gonna add 3 cups of all-purpose flour, a half a teaspoon of salt, and we're gonna mix this. Next, through the top, we are going to add 6 ounces of butter. This is a stick and a half of butter. And I've chopped them up into tablespoon sizes. You don't want to put the whole stick in at once. So we're gonna add a couple, and we're gonna pulse it. Let's add the rest. Now we're gonna crack 1 egg into it. And we're gonna put anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water. So let's go ahead and just add about half of this 1/2 cup. I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of my water. And now we have our dough that we are gonna roll out on the countertop to make our empanadas. So now we are going to roll out our empanada dough. We will flour our countertop. Go ahead and put some flour on your rolling pin. We're going to pour out our dough. Now we have our dough all rolled out. You would want to cut this with a circular cookie cutter. If you don't have one, I just have fun shapes. I'm gonna use a cup and a knife and cut around the edge. And you have your empanada dough. You can either go ahead and use this right away, or you can put it in your fridge and store it until you're ready to use it. Make sure you wrap it so it doesn't dry out though.
Preheat your oven to 350 degrees.
Now we're gonna start cooking our ground beef. Let's turn your stove on. You want a medium-high heat. We'll add our oil, about a tablespoon. And you want this to heat up before we add anything else. Let's add our ground beef. We're gonna season it with our salt, our black pepper, our chili powder, garlic powder, ground cumin, dried oregano, and a little bit of crushed red pepper flakes. Now that our meat has cooked all the way through, let's turn off our stove. And you're gonna want to drain all of this excess fat because you don't want it in the empanadas because it'll make it too wet. Now we're gonna build our empanada filling. We're going to put the ground beef in this bowl. Remember, we drained off all of the fat already. A cup of our black beans, 9 ounces of cheese, a cup of salsa. You could use enchilada sauce as well. I just don't have any. And a 1/4 cup of diced green chilies. Now our empanada filling is ready and we can start building our empanadas. Now we're gonna start building our empanadas. First, we're gonna take our baking pan and spray it with pan spray. Now we're gonna take our dough, add our filling, fold it over, and you wanna make sure you pinch all of the edges together so that it doesn't leak while it's cooking. Now we're gonna make an egg wash to brush over our empanadas. We're gonna crack 3 eggs, add 3/4 of a teaspoon of water, and we're going to whisk it together with our fork. Now we'll use our pastry brush to brush our egg wash on top of all of our empanadas. Next, we're gonna take a knife and just vent all of our empanadas. Now these are ready to go into the oven at 350 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes, or until they are lightly brown. I just pulled the empanadas out of the oven. They've gotten a nice golden brown on them. They actually ended up being in the oven for about 25 minutes. So even though it said 15 to 20, make sure you get a nice color on it before you pull it out of the oven. So I'm gonna let these rest for about 8 to 10 minutes before I start serving them because they're still very hot. And there you have it, a delicious beef, bean, and cheese empanada. Thanks guys for cooking with me. See you next time.